Hello everyone, let's discuss today's The Hindu editorial page. The first article is the Indian Parliament, a promise spurned. In this article, the writer says that the Indian Parliament's recent turn in December 2023 has given us an opportunity to review the state of this foundational institution of public life in the most populous country in the world today. The incident that occurred at the Lok Sabha floor led to a standoff between the opposition and ruling party, eventually leading to the suspension of 146 members of both houses of parliament. Much of the discussion on these events has focused on procedural and regulatory concerns, but it is also necessary to see the bearing of these events on the conception of a parliamentary government for India. In historical hindsight, progressive expansion of representation under colonial aegis exposed a section of Indians to legislative processes, and some of them came under the spell of the Westminster system. The choice of the parliamentary form of government was the outcome of a closely deliberated process. There were at least 4 stances around which the debate raged: presidential, Indian orthodoxy, Swarajist, and parliamentary. Those who argued for the presidential system argued for stability, unity of the nation, primacy of centralization, and drawing heavily from the American model. Some of its apologists were also tilted towards religious and social majoritarianism. Those who argued for the Swarajist model defended themselves by invoking Gandhi and sought a regime resting on village panchayats enjoying maximum powers and autonomy, with higher levels being endowed with those powers lying beyond the compass of the lower ranks. This debate was decisively won by those who were arguing for the parliamentary model. Those who marshaled this argument pointed out that there needs to be a decisive authority which can claim itself as the voice of the citizen community at large and being guardians of its mandate. The executive must be collectively responsive to this representative authority. If the executive loses the trust of the popularly elected house, it can no longer continue in office. There were 2 additional arguments that the protagonists of this position drew up. First, they pointed out that a parliamentary system marks a better space for minorities in the political arena, making their case in comparison to the presidential system, and does not assume what is good for the citizen community in advance as other competing models do. Second, it has better capacity to reach out to ethnic and cultural differences as they can effectively rally in the choice of the representatives. Both these arguments implied that India's representative model encompassed great potential for addressing the needs of the population and ensuring that the government is functioning effectively. The next article is A Bangladesh One-Party State and India's Options. In this article, the writer says that India has been congratulated by China and Russia for Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's return to power in another election without the participation of the main opposition Bangladesh Nationalist Party Jamaat-e-Islami coalition. India is a functional democracy and will have to live with arguments of democracy at home and support for autocracies abroad to suit strategic interests. With Hasina back in power for a record 5th time, India stands assured of continuity in its excellent bilateral relationship with Bangladesh, as she has addressed India's security and connectivity concerns. However, she cannot turn Bangladesh into a one-party state and count on Indian support as she often tends to. The world's most populous democracy, having to back a friendly government sustained by 3 highly controversial elections, sits uneasy on India's image as a global big player. This also explains why anti-Indian sentiments are at an all-time high in Bangladesh. India's support for an increasingly autocratic regime sustained by rigged and non-participatory elections has not gone down well, especially with the youth. 60% of the population is below 25 years old, who resent the massive corruption through large-scale bank defaults and extensive money laundering, the mismanagement of the economy, and the abnormal price rise that tainted the Hasina government in its 3rd term after a decade of substantial economic growth. India's strategic partner, the United States, and his European and Asian allies are deeply critical of the Bangladesh elections, making it difficult for India to defend elections where large-scale false voting under the active watch of the uniformed forces has been reported to boost voter turnout statistics or ensure the defeat of candidates unacceptable to Ms. Hasina's close circles. The Bangladesh parliament now resembles an extended national council of the ruling Awami League, with 61 independents emerging as the main opposition bloc to the league's 223 elected members in a 300-member house. Ms. Hasina's advisor, Salman F. Rahman, sought to justify the absence of opposition by referring to the Indian situation. Rahman is at the heart of many unseemly controversies faced by the Awami League, such as stock market scams, large-scale money laundering and bank defaults, and now electoral frauds, such as the use of underage children caught on camera, voting by turns several times over. His political influence on Hasina has earned him the adage of being the de facto prime minister. The next article is the Speaker's Court. The power to disqualify should be in independent hands. In this article, the writer says that Maharashtra Assembly Speaker Rahul Narwekar has ruled that there was no case to disqualify members of the Eknath Shinde faction or 14 members in the Uddhav B. Thackeray UBT group. The ruling is based on the finding that loyalists of Eknath Shinde, the chief minister now, constitute the real political party when rival Shiv Sena factions emerged on June 21, 2022. The Speaker's ruling draws on aspects of the Supreme Court's final verdict of May 11, 2023, which ruled that the governor was wrong in asking then Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray to undergo a floor test, and that the Speaker was wrong in recognizing the Shinde faction's appointee as the party's whip. In contrast, the Speaker declared that Sunil Prabhu, an UBT appointee, ceased to be the duly authorized whip from June 21, 2022, and that Bharat Gogawale of the Shinde group was validly appointed as the whip. The Uddhav Thackeray group may approach the Supreme Court again, possibly on the ground that the Speaker's ruling contradicts key conclusions of the bench. The court had observed that the percentage of members in each faction is irrelevant to the determination of whether a defense against disqualification is made out. However, the Speaker may have to decide on which party is the real party when adjudicating a question of defection. As long as defection disputes are in the hands of speakers, political considerations will undoubtedly cast a shadow on such rulings. The next article is Show of Fairness Tableau. Rotational plan for states and union territories is an equitable one. In this article, the writer says that the Defense Ministry has finalized a rotational plan to ensure all states and union territories have a chance to display their tables at the Republic Day parade within a 3-year cycle. This move aims to avoid controversy over the selection of tables, which has become an unfortunate and frequent accompaniment of the parade. This year, 16 states, union territories, UT, were selected for the parade, but opposition ruled Delhi, Punjab, Karnataka, and West Bengal were not qualified. The new plan, agreed by 28 states, aims to give everyone an equitable chance at participation. The ministry already has an elaborate screening mechanism for participants, and a committee of distinguished individuals from various fields was set up to screen proposals from states and organizations. The Ministry of Culture has empaneled 30 agencies for design and fabrication of tables through an open selection process, and states, UTs, are advised to engage these agencies following appropriate procedures. The tableau and performances at the parade showcase the nation's military might, but the performances hold a lens to the country's cultural splendor and diversity. The new proposal offers a fairer, more transparent mechanism for each state UT, and the assertion that the government, minister, or secretary do not have any role in the selection process is reassuring.